am I supposed to start?
Oh.
I said something about Snooki and Jersey Shore, and I really have a hard time watching that. That's ask your parents when you went home from the hospital, where were you? And evidently he wore a toupee, and he forgot to put the hair on top. He put all the sticky stuff. I don't know what that is. I've never seen inside a toupee, but sticky stuff was sticking up all over his head. She said she thought that was so funny she laughed, and out came me. I want to say something about Adele because she's one of my favorite singers. Hi, I'm Grandmother Patti, and the last time we were together, I said something about Snooki and Jersey Shore, and I really have a hard time watching that. That's not my cup of tea, and what they're all doing isn't. And I said, it just seems sad that she has her life a little bit out of whack, or a lot out of whack. Maybe this is only her summer thing, I don't know. But I guess she's being looked at by other concerns, like maybe clothes or something like that, and I hope she can get something like that. I don't know what you do with somebody like that to help them. Maybe it's just something that she has to want help first, and then you can figure out what to do. So I do watch sometimes, but sometimes it's sort of painful for me because I'm thinking ahead of what her life is going to be like, and I don't know if anybody else around her is thinking that way. Okay, then the other thing I asked you to do is to ask your parents when you went home from the hospital, where were you? And I said I would tell you where I was. And I said, I gave you two hints. It was in Xenia, Ohio, and it was an institution. Xenia's near Dayton. So if you knew anybody in Dayton or Xenia, they might have been able to help you. But what is there, and was there after the Civil War, they started a OS and SO home. Ohio Soldiers and Sailors Orphans Home. But they didn't like it to be called an orphanage. They called it the home because most of them had their mothers. But their fathers were either killed or gassed in the First World War. And gas is something that ruins your lungs, and most of those men can never work again. I had an uncle who I used to look at because he was always sitting over in that chair over on my father's side of the family, and he always smiled and everything, but when it was time to get up or to do anything, it took a lot of energy, and it was a sad situation. And the mothers, this was the Depression. The mothers didn't have, in those days, they didn't know anything to do. I mean, they weren't trained in this or that or the other thing. So the boys and the girls, there were between 600 to 800 of them in there. And it was very pretty. You went in over a little bridge, and up there was a large chapel with the vines, and then there was a big parade field, and on Sundays they would parade around, and the girls would be all in white, and the boys' uniforms looked like West Point uniforms. I don't know if they were hand-me-downs or not, but anyway, and the boys were so proud, and the girls liked to stand and watch them, and the band would play, and my brother, who was 3.5 years older than me, could learn to triple play, or whatever that is, triple tongue, his trumpet. And so it was a great place, and my father was an absolutely magnificent administrator. I'll tell you sometime the story about how he got there, and he was only like 31 years old. So when the hospital, there was right next there was a little hill, and up there was a little hospital, and the two messengers, the older messenger and the younger messenger doctors. And so when they brought me home, it was just about a half a mile, and they drove up, and there was this big building. Now most of the children are in little cottages, except for the seniors that are in big dorms, just like in a college campus. And so we were in this other building that looks like a castle, and they brought me in, and mother had a nurse help her come home and all this and that. But then my brother started watching all this, and I don't think he understood, or nobody had told him exactly what was going on. So about 2 days later, when he knew that everybody had just a few minutes gotten out of the room, he ran in there with all these books and he lined them up all around this part of my crib. And then when people started to come in, he'd throw the books at them. I don't think he didn't like me. I think he felt he should protect me, you know, from all these people, or he should get some of the, I don't know what the situation was. So last time I asked you to write down, because you were not going to know. You're going to have to ask your parents what went on when you came home, or where was your first home. Some of you had maybe lived only in a place. And another thing is, some of you may have stayed in the hospital a long time. And that happens. That happens more than people know. And so I wanted to, I will tell more about the orphanage. We're going to put on some, a couple of years ago for fun, we made this sort of a history, and we didn't put it in order, we just had fun with it. And so sometime either we're going to put it on like a fourth of the time, or a little later we'll put the whole thing on so you can see, and you can see what a beautiful place it was. And I used to march in the Memorial Day Parade in the front, and I didn't like it because there were two men who actually were in front of me, and I think they were from the Spanish-American in the First World War or something, and I couldn't see, and everybody else had two people walking with them carrying this basket, and I was only like about 6, and I thought it was too heavy. And so when you when you think, at least I've led some parades. So anyway, to me it was just, my mother had me go into town and take dance lessons, and we were rabbits, and we'd go hop, 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 choo, choo. And I still know all those girls. There were 6 of us. And then I would go in and ride on, a couple of my friends had horses, and then my piano teacher had, if you can imagine this, I was only like 6 or 7, and she had all of us learn from the ages, the youngest age to the high school girls, the same piece, a country garden. And then she would have us do the simple part, you know, da 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 da. And so then the other ones may be going up and down the scale, the older ones, and she put in a in the high school, Xenia High School auditorium, not the auditorium, it was the basketball court, I guess. She put 9 pianos. Can you believe this? 9 pianos, and we all played the same song at once, with the middle junior high girls doing much more than we were, and the high school girls really banging it up. And they said it really was overwhelming. And how she did that, how she got those pianos in there, I'll never know. So that was, there's a lot about the orphanage that is fascinating. And we didn't call it the orphanage, we called it the home. And somebody right now may be looking at it and be one of the students there, because my parents, wherever they went, all over different parts of the United States, they would bump into these people. They would be people then, but they used to be children. So it was that's an exciting thing, and it's many stories I'll have about that from time to time, because who else lives in a place like that? Well, so when I was born, when I was going to be born, my father had it was snowing, it was April 11th, and it was snowing, and the governor was there for his yearly visit. So my father had to keep taking the governor around, and finally, as it grew into evening, he deposited the governor at the armory to be with the National Guard. That was Company L. He was the captain of Company L of the Armory of the 37th Division of the state of Ohio. And so finally he got the governor deposited, and he got back to the hospital. In those days, the men didn't come in the room when the women were having babies and all that kind of stuff, so he waited outside. And so they already had a son, Hal, and so Mother said that she looked at the old doctor was sitting next to her, and she looked down at his feet, and he had on 2 different colors of socks. And then she looked up at his head, and evidently he wore a toupee, and he forgot to put the hair on top. He put all the sticky stuff, I don't know what that is, I've never seen inside a toupee, but sticky stuff was sticking up all over his head. She said she thought that was so funny, she laughed, and out came me. So do you have any story about your early childhood? And please ask around, and ask aunts and uncles and friends and everybody, because you'll never know if you don't ask. And in parting, I want to say something about Adele, because she's one of my favorite singers. She can actually sing, she has melodies and tunes and fabulous voice, but then I hear that she's going to have a throat operation. And so I'm just wishing the best to Adele, and I know a lot of people like her, and I don't know what's going to happen. I guess she doesn't know what's going to happen. So that's the way life is. Sometimes you're on top of the world, and the next day you find yourself down, and all you can do is just take each day at a time and just do the best you can, and that's all we ask of anybody. Now, of course, my son is trying to tell me what to do. It's something about, if you, at the end of this, is a place to subscribe and put your name, and then, and what else is somebody to say? Just tell me. If you like me at all, you're supposed to push the like, L-I-K-E button down here. And if I'm one of your favorites, you know, after you watch me a few times, maybe I'll be one of your favorites. Don't forget, down in the comments, put what you want me to talk about. And also, just tell things that you want to talk about, which I've already said. And also, don't forget, is there anything else I'm to say? Subscribe. I don't know why, and I don't know any of this. I'm just sitting in front of a camera, blogging away, and my son will take care of the rest, which is a good deal. But he's still trying to tell me what to do. I don't